My name's Nicola Venditozzi and I'm a psychologist and student counsellor at the University of Adelaide, and I'm here to host a masterclass on wellbeing. So it probably comes as no surprise that most people at the moment are feeling stressed and anxious in relation to the huge changes that we've faced due to the current global pandemic. Being at home really isn't necessarily straightforward, and it can be complicated by money worries or difficult family relationships. Being physically distanced from each other can also be really tricky, and lots of people might be feeling quite lonely or isolated. When we don't feel particularly good, most of us will reach to the internet and search things like coping with stress or dealing with well-being when we don't feel good. And if you've done a search like this, you'll know that there are pages and pages of advice. There are two really common thoughts or blocks that can get in the way of us starting something helpful, and I want to talk about what we might do about them. Block one. I need to feel like it. I'm too tired, I don't have the energy, or I don't have the motivation. Our brain is fundamentally like a huge problem-solving machine, and one of its main jobs is to keep us safe from danger. One of the ways that it does this is by talking us out of trying anything new when we feel stressed or anxious. We tell ourselves that we really need to feel like it before we start doing something. But think about anything that you've ever tried that you haven't been looking forward to. It's once we get started that we usually begin to feel something different. It's the getting started that's the hard bit. So here are 3 tips. Write down the last strategy that you've wanted to try that you haven't been able to get started on. Then write down all the ways that your mind has tried to talk you out of getting started. Next, thank your mind for really doing its job and trying to keep you safe. And then flip the paper. Then make a realistic plan. Plan a start time, plan how often you're going to do it, and then plan to repeat that every day for a week. Don't take my word for it, give it a go, see how you find it, and then acknowledge the efforts that you're making and plan to reward yourself for doing something different. Block 2. Breathing or relaxation exercises aren't going to fix what's happening. That's absolutely true. Instead, what it does is it equips us with skills that can help us to manage our feelings differently, so that then we can face the situation however things might turn out. So a few tips. Acknowledge that it's normal to feel stressed and anxious, and it's also normal to feel a whole bunch of other things like frustration or resentment or anger. Our feelings are rarely pure, and it's much more common that we feel things that can seem conflicting on first glance. If we recognize this and respond to ourselves with some understanding and compassion, then that's a really great first step. Next, go to a breathing or meditation app that you've got on your phone that you've never used and open it up. If you don't have something like that, go to a search engine and type in University of Adelaide breathing and follow the links. Plan to open up the app or to open up the video and try it. Pay attention to how you feel before and after, acknowledge the efforts that you're making, and then plan to do the same activity every day for a week. The more you practice it, the more normal it'll start to feel, and it'll become a technique that you can reach for whenever you feel stressed or anxious. So to bring it all together, the changes that we're facing can feel really overwhelming, and we want to try and focus on 1 or 2 things that we might do differently to look after ourselves that are really going to help. Unfortunately, nobody ran a marathon after the first training session, so the most important thing is whatever you choose, stick with it.